Welcome to Lakeside. We're so glad you're joining us today, whether you're right here in the room or watching online from somewhere around the world.
Our gathering is about to begin, and as you're grabbing your seats for getting comfortable at home, we want to take a moment to get you oriented.
We'll be together for just over an hour this morning. We'll sing a few songs, have a short coffee break, and then you'll hear some announcements and a message from one of our pastors.
We're pretty casual here, so feel free to move around and get up, use the washroom, or top up your coffee. If this is your first time here, we want to extend a special welcome to you. We'd love to say hi, when you're ready, of course.
You can text the word NEW to the number at the bottom of the screen, and a member of our welcome team will reach out.
Our vision at Lakeside is to help people discover and fully follow Jesus, and we'll be praying that today would be an impactful time of encounter for you.
If you need anything at all today, just look for someone wearing a blue name tag, and they'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Now it's time to turn things over to our worship leader. Have a great morning.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Lakeside. We are just so excited to have you here this morning. Whether you are here in the room and you've chosen to join us this way, or maybe you're online, checking us out online today, however you choose to join, we are just so thrilled to share this morning with you. I would love to invite you to stand. We're going to worship together. We've got some great songs. We're going to kick off the service with Who You Say I Am, and we're so excited because we have Josh back on drums with us this morning. So Josh, let's take it away. Let's sing this together, friends.
Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but He brought me in. Oh, His love for me. Oh, His love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, it's free.
next song is one that we've introduced a couple of times, and I just love the lyrics in this song. It's called Reason to Praise. And it talks about when we're at our worst, when we're feeling helpless, when we feel like there is not much worth feeling, but that our God is still a God who gives us a reason to praise. So whatever you're bringing in this morning, I hope that even in the midst of that, even if it is a small reason, that you still find that reason to praise him this morning.
I'm at my end, you're just getting started. When I hit a wall, you just walk through. When I face a mountain, you are the maker, so it's gotta move. When I'm out of faith, you are still faithful. When I'm at my worst, you are still good. In all of my questions, you are the answer. It all points to you. 'Cause you're the God of the breakthrough. When I'm breaking down, you'll be working a way through. When there's no way out, this one thing I know, you're still on your throne.
Still
We've got a reason this morning to praise. Well, this next song we're going to sing this morning, it's a new song that's part of our winter season of worship, and it's called Make Room. A couple weeks ago, Michelle introduced it so beautifully. And I love this song because it is just that invitation, not only individually, but just as a church to make room. Make room for the Holy Spirit, make room for Jesus to just impact in ways that we just don't even know we're ready for yet. So my prayer this morning is that as we sing this song together, that you would feel that invitation just to make room.
Here is where I lay it down, every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to.
Here is where I lay it down, every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender.
Let's sing this together. And I will make room
For you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Oh, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Oh, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Oh, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to.
let's sing this together, friends.
Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better. For your way is better. Shake up the ground, all my tradition, break down the walls, all my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down, every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. as I invite you to take a seat, one of the things that we strive to do here is to create a space of oasis. From the time you come in the doors until the time you leave, from the time we start singing until our prayer ministers are finished praying with you, we just long for this to be a space of encounter with Jesus. A space perhaps in your week where you can just come away, not necessarily the only space, but a space where you can just soak, where you can maybe be still, perhaps for the first time all week. And if I take you back to your grade school geography and we think about that whole idea of oasis, and of tired travelers who have been walking through a dusty, sandy, hot desert for weeks, and the water supply is running low. Will it last? And then on the horizon, they see an oasis. And they know that there's cool, fresh, clear water. And there's shade. And there's rest. That's what we long for this space to be. And so I just invite you this morning to pause for a moment and maybe just imagine yourself, or maybe you don't have to imagine, being a weary traveler, coming into that place of oasis where there's shade and there's cool, fresh water. And you can take off all of the heavy bags you've been carrying. And maybe you dip your feet in the cool water, or splash it on your face, or plunge right in. We just want this to be a space for that. Jesus is inviting us into this space of oasis. So just take a moment and imagine yourself just taking off the bags and the burdens, of laying them at Jesus' feet. Drinking from that fresh, cool, clean water. What is it this morning that you need Jesus to do for you? Jesus, we've come this morning. We've come thirsty, looking to be quenched, empty, looking to be filled, weary, looking for rest. So we just invite and welcome your Spirit into this space to do what you want to. We just give you that permission to do what you want to do what we need, to meet us where we're at, to fill us and restore us this morning, so that when we leave here refreshed and ready to face another week. Give us what we need this morning, we pray. Amen. At this point in our gathering, if you are new with us, we just take about a 5-minute pause, and you can continue just to soak and to be still and to reflect if that's what you need. If you want to connect with someone that you haven't seen for a while, if you want to refresh your coffee or tea, there's that at the back. And our parents, you can take your kids to their kids program if that's what they'd like to do or that's what you'd like to do. They're always welcome with us in the auditorium. And this month our youth are back in their program, grades 6 to 8. So we want to thank you for serving with us in the month of January, and enjoy your time together in your youth program. We will call you back with a short video and a countdown.
Welcome back. We're about halfway through our Sunday morning gathering, and we think this is a great time to help you find your bearings.
If you're wondering about when the offering plate gets passed, we don't do that here. We believe financial generosity is personal and something you can do on your own.
You can give online using the Give tab on our website, or there are in-person options that can be found at the back of the room. Everything you see here, from our facilities to our programs to our equipment and even our staff, is supported by the people who invest in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now let's turn it over to our host, who will give us some important updates before the message begins.
If we haven't met, my name's Robin. I'm one of the pastors here at Lakeside, and as you can see, we have something a little different going on here this morning, which we're really excited about. But before we get to that, just a couple of pieces of information that might be helpful for you. If you're new online or you're new in the room, if you just want to text "new" to the number on the screen, and one of our staff will reach out. And you can give as little or as much information as you're comfortable with. They just want to say hi and acknowledge that you stepped out in courage and came to a new church, or maybe came to a church for the first time. If you have any questions or you want to know how to get connected, that's also the number that you can use. And so when they reply, you can reply back with as much as you want. You can also visit guest services on your way out. It's on the blue wall just as you're leaving. And we just have some free fresh roasted coffee for you to take home and enjoy, or loose leaf tea, just as a way to say thank you for joining us today. On your calendars, mark next Tuesday. Who here likes pancakes? Like, who doesn't like pancakes, right? Like, it's just a vehicle for the maple syrup, really. But anyway, next Tuesday night, we're having here a pancake supper starting at 5:30. If in case I forget to mention it, there will be gluten-free pancakes. There'll be all kinds of different toppings. And it's a tradition, really, within the church. It kicks off Ash Wednesday, which is the next day, and our 6-week journey of Lent as we lead up to Good Friday and Easter. So Tuesday evening here at the church, 5:30. You don't have to register. We just have a great time together, mowing down on some pancakes and all kinds of sugar. So bring your family and take your kids home all fed up with sugar. But anyway, we'll look forward to that. That's a fun time. Also, as we think about our journey through Lent, one of our, I like to call her a friend. She doesn't know me, but I know her, Kate Bowler. She's no stranger here to us at Lakeside. We like to quote her and read her prayers from time to time. She's offering a free Lent reflection. And so if you go to the QR code there, or also on our newsletter, that information was there. You can sign up and receive a free devotional each day in your inbox that will walk you through Lent. There's also a discussion guide. So if you wanted to just gather a group of friends or one other friend and just meet once a week and work through that, that's also an option for you. If you want to start a group, you can chat with me, and we can set that up either by Zoom or here in the building or in your home, or coffee shop, or wherever. But those are 2 free devotionals, and we will keep you informed of any new stuff like that that comes along. So with that being said, I'm going to invite Mark to join me up here, and we're going to regroup in the living room. We haven't done this for, I think, 2 years was the last time
Yes.
we did this whatever it is we do.
Co-hosting,
Co-hosting.
co-piloting.
Piloting?
No.
I don't know. Conversation?
Do you remember when we started this, by the way? It was during COVID. And we had like the big plastic thing. It was like,
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah. Now we're free.
Remember COVID?
Remember that?
Who could
Did anyone
forget?
else experience that, or is that just us? Imagine. Wow. Well, today's a big day. I'm so glad you joined us. Today we are celebrating 1 year from the time that our elders announced that we would be a fully inclusive church to our LGBTQ community. And I'm stoked that you're here. It's 1 year of becoming more inclusive, diverse, and safe space. And just want to thank you for joining us. For some, today is going to be kind of a good refresher on the journey. Some, this will fill in details as to how we got here, or maybe questions that you've had all along, or things you've wondered about. And for some, this will be completely new information. And so hang in there for the whole time. I think you're going to well, you're going to learn a lot. We'll say that for sure. And if nothing else, you'll leave here and be like, wow, those people believe that. And you'll have some great conversation with your friends about, the things they believe up at that church by the lake. So,
That's not really by the lake.
Close, across the street. There you go. So that's the journey we're going on today. So quick menu. First of all, I just hope that today what it reminds us is not that we're this uniform community, but actually that the thing that unites us is that we're a community living in response to the reckless love of Jesus and figuring out the rest. And you'll see how that plays out. As we're going to kind of look back on the journey, we're going to take time to explain the decision we made a year ago, what exactly that decision was versus what people think it was, because I meet people all the time in and outside our church who have very different ideas of what our decision was. So that's really exciting.
Yep. And then after that, we're just going to take some time to commemorate that decision by reflecting on and hearing your stories, the stories that you sent to us on the survey, the stories that we've heard and you've given us permission to share, stories of loss and pain, because there were losses, weren't there? Like we carry with us personal and collective pain and hurt. And then stories of hope and inspiration. And we're actually going to hold both of these. We're going to honor both of those realities. And in a way, today stands as a kind of a memorial. For some of you, you may know that in the Old Testament, thousands of years ago, people would often set up a memorial to commemorate God's faithfulness to them or God's rescue at the end of a journey. Usually they would just take stones, ordinary stones, and stack them up. And one of them was called an Ebenezer, which just means stone of help. And so in a way today, we are going to erect an Ebenezer. Metaphorically, stack our stones, stack our stories as a reminder of the Spirit's help through this process and the help that we're going to continue to need as we navigate how it is that we worship together with diverse views, theologically and across the board, honoring each other in the midst of our differing views. And so maybe we should start out with how did we get here in the first place?
Yeah.
So in 2019, before I got here, in response to questions that were coming in around what's our stand on marriage and sexuality, our elders initiated a committee to examine our beliefs. We knew what we believed, but why did we believe those things? Should they be re-examined? And so when I was being interviewed, I was told about this process, this committee, and I was stoked. Like, I was so excited because this was a journey that I'd already been on for a number of years, reading and studying, sort of on my own, though. I didn't have anyone to process it with. And so the idea of being on a committee of people that were on the same journey of wrestling and praying and studying was just, pretty exciting to me.
That makes one of us. I got voluntold to the committee, and I was like, this feels like it's going to be a lot of reading, which I don't really do. And it also...
You did well.
Yeah, but the other part was I'm like, this is such a heavy topic, and it's such a divisive topic. And I felt in the pit of my stomach how intense this could be. And so, but we both were on that committee. And...
There were originally 8, actually, members on that committee. And most of us came into that committee either confidently or tentatively holding a traditional view of marriage. And if you don't know what that is, it's a view that marriage and godly sexuality is between one man and one woman. But we also came into that committee earnestly seeking answers, wanting to know, God, what do you have to say about this? And, it seemed reasonable to us we'd be done in a year. Like, how could it take longer than a year? And then, well, COVID. COVID hit. And with the general overwhelm that all of us experienced and pivoting in our personal lives, in our careers, with kids, in ministry, and just honestly, the sheer volume of material. Because if we were going to do this, we wanted to be thorough. We wanted to do it with integrity. So it actually ended up taking us 3 years. And during that time, I can honestly say we wrestled with Scripture and our embedded belief structures. We read and we listened to real-life stories, real-life experiences of those who are committed to following Jesus and yet experience same-sex attraction and wondering how that fits with the kingdom of God, with the Bible, with the church, because they'd received certain messages from the church and they were just really wrestling with that. We, together as a committee, agonized in prayer. We tasted fear, the fear that you just referenced. We navigated uncomfortable conversations, and we honestly faced the reality, the inevitability of the possibility, inevitability of strained and potentially broken relationships that could come of this, no matter which side of the question we landed on. And by the end of the process, 6 of us remained on the committee, and we had reached a place where we felt that Scripture could not be used to condemn same-sex, loving, monogamous relationships. And so we gathered all of our findings and we distilled them into a paper and we submitted that to the elders and we breathed sigh of relief.
But then I sat on the elders board meeting, so I can pick up the story here since I sit on the board as well. The elders were then now going through this document, so now they're processing this and having conversations and wrestling together, and that went on for months. And as you've probably experienced in your own life in conversations on topics like this and others, things weren't black and white for our elders, right? They had different opinions, different lived experiences. As much as I would have loved to just say, everybody who believes this on this side of the room and everybody who believes that on that side of the room, it was so much more nuanced than that, right? Like you'd have somebody be like, well, for me, it's like, I get this and this and this, but this is a sticking point. I'm trying to understand how we support people with this. And then someone else would be like, oh, that's not an issue for me. For me, it's this piece and how that ties together and what do we, right? Like it was just this, it was so much more nuanced, right? And so I remember thinking to myself as we'd sit in these conversations, if we have to agree on all of these details and nuances, we will never be able to make a decision. And so that's kind of where we were at as a board. Now, for context about when this is happening, this is spring, summer, fall of 2022. And so as we're having these conversations on the board, we also agreed it'd be good because now our congregation's been kind of in limbo for years, right? This COVID kind of stretched things out. So it's like, it'd be good to start the dialogue and conversations with our church. And so that's where in the fall of 2022, we started the sexuality nights. That's where you and I started kind of like this, just sharing and getting people up to speed. And, here's our preconceived thoughts and scripture and all that stuff. So we began unpacking that at the same time. So then, in a sense, it's like the elders are discussing in their meetings, and then on parallel tracks, the congregation's kind of getting up to speed on some things. And then something cool happened. Around the same time, our elders were also studying the difference between bounded set spirituality and centered set spirituality. Maybe you've heard those terms before. They're up on the screen. We've talked about this for years. Before I came, Jeff taught about it. I've taught about it. And now Robin, our resident theologian, is going to give you a quick summary of this topic.
Okay.
In 30
wow, no
seconds.
pressure.
Yeah,
okay.
no pressure.
So bounded set spirituality, if you want to look at the image on the screen, there you go, is what it sounds like. It's all about boundaries. So you can be part of the community. You can be in the circle if you check all these boxes, if you agree with us on all of these things. So everybody in the circle, everybody in the community agrees on the boundaries. And so you can belong if you agree. You can belong if you toe the line within the boundaries. And all of those, within that circle, there was, there's all kinds of beliefs, but they're all unified. So there's beliefs outside of that circle that other Jesus followers might be happy with, but inside the circle, there's a tight set. So some of those might be like your views on divorce. Might be outside the circle, inside the circle. Evolution, 6-day creation. Do we baptize babies or do we just baptize adults? And on it goes. We know all of the various issues that Christians have fought and divided over and continue to do that. So that's the bounded set. The centered set is the next slide. So if you'll notice, people are all over the place, but there's those that are heading towards a center. They're heading towards, for us, that center is Jesus. And so we might have different views as we're moving towards Jesus, but the fact that we're all moving towards Jesus is what makes us belong. That's what forms the community. So in an auditorium and online and in a congregation or a group of people, a faith community like ours, as diverse as ours, if we're all moving towards Jesus, we all belong.
Yeah.
And so we are this community of faith because Jesus is our center. And so that's sort of it in a nutshell, I
and
guess.
therefore it's the direction we're headed and not the issues that we agree or disagree on. Because the reality is, I've changed my mind on many issues over the last few decades. You maybe on a topic or two.
Yep, and I imagine we'll continue to do that.
Continue to, yeah. So that's the context of moving from bounded set spirituality, which many of you probably grew up in, right? You think of the church you grew up in, if you grew up in church, and you're like, yep, we had our rules, we had our things we cared about, other things didn't seem to matter. And so we were, as an elder team, studying this and moving more and more away from bounded set and more towards centered set. So more focus on the direction of people's gaze towards Jesus. And a lot of that was impacted by our week-by-week study of the book of Luke, and Jesus seeming to live that out and always be breaking down religious boundaries and pointing people towards the center. So the one thing we all agreed on as an elders board was that we need to be more centered set. And so the thing that was wild that kind of happened was, it was at a board meeting just before Christmas of 2022, and we just finished our second sexuality night, and one of the elders, who actually held personally at the time a traditional view of marriage. That's, remember, someone who holds a perspective that marriage is designed by God to be between one man and woman. So one translation is, this elder held the view that our church was already organized around. And this elder said, hey, if we're gonna be truly centered set, we shouldn't make agreement on a theological issue a boundary for someone to be part of our community. And some of the other elders pointed out, yeah, there's a whole bunch of other things our people disagree on theologically, a whole bunch of topics where people hold different convictions on, and they're welcome to be here and fully participate and be included in every part of the church. So why would the topic of sexuality and marriage be any different? And so, long story short, by the end of that meeting, the board voted. And they weren't voting to see if everyone agreed on the issues of sexuality and gender. They didn't. The board voted to say agreement and uniformity on this topic of gender and sexuality is no longer our litmus test for involvement in community. That regardless which theological position you took on these issues or how you chose to live them out, you would be welcome and included in every area of Lakeside. And then it was done. And I remember leaving that meeting, because I didn't go into the meeting expecting a vote. Nobody planned it. It wasn't on the agenda. And I kind of left there shell-shocked. I remember I called my wife, I called you, I'm like, Robin, I think we lead an inclusive church now.
Just like that.
Just like that.
It felt like just like that.
It did. And so our elders spent the next few weeks kind of leading up to that third sexuality night, preparing a document, kind of laying out the posture that they were taking. And at the end of January, we met with our church right here, and we laid that all out. You can actually still go back and watch that video from that night. You can read the elders' paper on it, where they just kind of explain it with so many great examples and answer common questions as well. But bottom line, from now on, we would be a place where all conversations and convictions on sexuality and gender would be put into the category of disputable matters. What someone believed on an issue and how they lived out that belief would no longer be a category for division, separation, or exclusion from certain parts of the church. Bottom line, however you identified or who you loved, you would be included in every area of Lakeside. And it also meant that we'd be now willing to perform marriages for people who chose to pursue heterosexual or homosexual relationships. And that night, we also made clear in our announcement and letter that if you had convictions on sexuality and gender that fell into traditional marriage category, that you were free to still hold those. We were not saying that everyone who's going to be part of Lakeside going forward now needs to sign on the dotted line that we all agree with a different perspective on sexuality and gender, but simply that we can agree to disagree. And if you were okay being part of a church where you would regularly bump into people who said, yeah, I think I see that a bit differently, that you would be okay.
Unfortunately, that part seemed to have got lost in translation. And I think it's because, it's natural because we live in a society, I think, where we tend to draw lines. And if you're on that side, then I must be on that side. If you agree with that, then I'm on this. You're either blue or you're red. You're black or you're white. You're right or you're wrong. And those are the dualistic categories that you kind of talked about last week. So I can see how that got lost in translation, but that is absolutely not our posture.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So ultimately, in a nutshell, that is how we got to the place where we made a decision 1 year ago, where for the first time, if you held a view or lived in a way that didn't fall into the category of traditional marriage, you would not be excluded. You'd be fully welcome to be part of every area of our church and leadership. Now, like I said, a nutshell. If you have more questions or you want to dig in more, we actually have a new page that's going live on our website this morning where you can kind of see and ask questions and understand everything about our posture on these issues. You can also go on YouTube to our sexuality playlist. That sounds kind of sketch to say that. It just,
Our adult channel.
yeah. But it's where we put all the videos together of all those different nights, kind of what started the conversation, all the conversations. We'll probably throw this in there as well. And then also, as we always say, our pastors are always up for coffee, so grab a coffee with us. We would love to chat with you. But that's how we got there. Now, that decision had serious impact on people's lives. And not all of it was positive. A lot of pain and hurt has surfaced because of it. And to simply celebrate today would be disingenuous. So we wanted to take a few minutes and actually lament the pain and the costs of this last year. And so, Robin, you're going to start us off.
Yeah. First, to our LGBTQ community. While we felt such relief for Lakesiders who had left because they're part of that LGBTQ community, and we've connected with some, but we've heard your heart. We've heard you say things like, I'm so happy that you made that decision, but I'm also not sure if I can find myself back into a church, at least not yet. And the pain is still raw. It's still right there at the surface, and it feels unsafe for me to come back. And I get that. If you've been wounded by church in any way, at any time, you get that too. And so that's a huge lament for us. We continue to lament that, and while we truly believe that the decision and the posture does and will continue to lead us into less harm and more healing in the future, we grieve. We grieve that deep pain that many suffered because of the boundaries that we had previously held. And we've spoken to many of you. We know that you lament this with us. You have kids, grandkids, friends, neighbors, siblings, parents even, who may never walk back into a church, may never explore a relationship with Jesus, or who have walked away from church and walked away from faith because of the posture of the church and the hurt that they have incurred. For some of you, it was a posture of exclusion. For others, it was name-calling. Still others, it was hypocrisy. Hypocrisy in refusing to actually really listen to someone else's lived experience, to honor that, to give dignity to the experience that they were experiencing. And while at the same time, we had lots of grace and wiggle room for other issues that we kind of disagreed with. We were okay with agree to disagree on certain issues, but not on this one. And many of us just didn't take time to hear and to actually carry that pain with you and to hear your heart for Jesus. And so instead we settled for caricatures and labels, for black and white categories, and categories we'd never really want applied to ourselves. We like that wiggle room when it comes to certain issues. And so to our LGBTQ friends, we want you to know that we haven't actually forgotten the incredible pain that you've experienced, that we as a church has actually inflicted on you. And so we lament it often, and we actually welcome lamenting it with you. I think there's a power in sitting in other people's pain and holding it. And so we hope it makes us a better church going forward, hopefully learning from our mistakes in history and leaning into what love requires of us, regardless of how uncomfortable that might be.
And secondly, we also lament kind of the incredible impact this had on our community. It's no secret that this decision led to many people who called Lakeside home choosing to leave. The number of survey results that you shared with us that spoke of the deep pain of having lost friends who disagreed with this decision was a lot. I know this decision, and I'm not being dramatic when I say this, has significantly altered so many lives for those that stayed and for those that left. And if we could, we'd love to share a few stories. Some are direct quotes and some are summarized of people lamenting the pain of the lost community and the impact of this decision. And I know many of you will resonate with these.
So here's from someone who's been here 31 years. It said, on one hand, I'm proud of our church for stepping out where few do and opening ourselves up to the LGBTQ community in a new way. On the other hand, I'm extremely sad about the human cost of this decision in terms of broken relationships and lost people for Lakeside. I personally have had a number of friendships either come to an end, become impaired, or perhaps even drifted into unknown territory on account of this decision. I am unable to view this cost as inevitable or necessary. It seems tragic.
Someone else said, watching people leave has been hard. And they say they're still working through, and I'm glad they're working through it, but they're working through feelings of anger towards them, especially people they used to serve alongside.
We lost many people we used to consider friends. This was hurtful as we looked forward to reconnecting with them after COVID.
Someone else says, publicly I've experienced judgment for being part of the Lakeside Church community.
Another said, I have a friend I met about 42 years ago when our children were toddlers. That's a long time. Since recent discussions about Lakeside and our church's acceptance of the LGBTQ community, my friend appears to have severed her relationship with me. At our last meetup, I could sense her rejection and disgust with me. It does hurt and disappoint me that she has rejected my fellowship and no longer holds me in her regard. I am able to see this as a cost of following Christ, and I pray for her. Those are some of the personal stories. But there's also been a cost to Lakeside as a faith community on so many levels. Volunteers, ministries, financially.
Yeah, to state the obvious, we took, immediate significant financial hit that impacted day-to-day operations. We put staff on leave. We even had to let staff go. That has impacted us as a church in many ways.
For one, our family ministries team has been really hit. Rose lost over 15 dedicated volunteers. That is 75% of her volunteer base. And not just the adults who were committed to helping in the family ministries, that's kids and youth, but also she had a number of committed senior youth who obviously when their parents decided to leave, they also left. So here's a little plug. If you want to volunteer for kids or youth, see Rose. But yeah, that's a huge cost to her. And the financial crunch meant that many of the activities or the supplies that we need or the events that we would love to do for our family ministries couldn't be done. I know for myself, the life group ministry, we lost 7 of our life group leaders. That's over half the team. Our prayer ministry team lost half the team. Our greeting, ushering, parking, and coffee teams all had to be rebuilt, some of them almost from scratch. Our photography and parking teams still haven't been rebuilt. And even outside of the walls of this church, we had ministry connections within Guelph, and those have been severed, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So was there a cost? Yes. 2023 was a hard year. I don't have any desires to relive it. Many are still living with the fallout, but would we make the same decision again? 1,000%. You're probably expecting us to now go from, yeah, there were hard parts, some people left, but many stayed, now we're growing, hooray, let's celebrate. But that again would kind of be the dualistic view we talked about last week. Remember this dualistic, black and white, 2 ways to see something? And I understand that's the way that many people see the story at Lakeside. There's just kind of 2 categories. It's the people who left because they disagreed and the people who got their way and won and stayed. And that's often the story that we hear, but it's just not the actual story. Someone in their survey said, I'm fearful. They actually shared this, right? I'm fearful that this isn't the community I hoped it would be, that this is just mostly a community of people who agree with the decision. And that's a good caution, and a fair caution, but I do want to share that from my perspective, because I have the luxury of hearing so many stories, it is far more nuanced than that. It is anything but black and white. There's a whole category of people that fit into the category of deep faith, wide embrace. And these stories don't get told or heard. And so these are the people who, when the decision was made, maybe they were in the middle ground of, I'm not sure what I believe, or I still have some questions, or I'd like to talk more, or I am actually quite sure where I stand on this issue, but I also don't think it should be a dividing issue. And so these are stories from that group of people, which is far bigger than most people, I think, realize. So we're going to read some of their stories.
So to the question, why did you stay? Someone said, this is a church who cares about all its people, even when they disagree. This is a church that I can be a part of. Another one said, this is my church. We're staying. We had determined to stay no matter what the decision would be.
This person who's been at Lakeside 20 years said, no church community is perfect, so I've chosen to build my faith in my church family here. I'm here till I die, move, or God reveals clearly that I need to go. My staying has nothing to do with the decision.
And someone else who's been here 28 years said, I've known that we can't agree on every decision or principle in a church. My decision has always been to love people and know that I can't understand and explain everything about the Bible and the church's position on each topic, and I'm okay with that.
Someone else says, the stance you took as a church wasn't easy for anyone I know. For me personally, it was challenging. I lost a few friends who were close to left the church when the announcement was made, and it's challenged my faith as well. They continue to say, growing up in a cult though, and to be clear, I know this person legit, like haven't seen their family in decades, cult, right? So growing up in a cult and coming to Jesus, everything has challenged my faith and has encouraged me to love deeper. So I took this as just as another opportunity to learn and grow as I look to Jesus as my guide. I'd be lying if I said I'm pro anything. I just believe in Jesus and follow where he leads. If he asks me to love ones who I don't know and understand, I will do it, just as he has loved me and who I am. So yes, not easy, but sticking and seeing where Jesus leads us.
Someone else said, I still don't know where I stand on this particular topic, but I know I'm not going to abandon my faith community and draw a line in the sand of them and us because of one decision.
I love this one. 20 years they've been at church at Lakeside. They say, I don't know that I do agree, but I'm 100% comfortable serving with and even being led by people who think differently about this topic.
So those are just a few of your responses that reflect this deep faith and wide embrace, this centered, set posture. And so we just deeply thank you for responding to the survey, for answering honestly, answering from your heart. But then there are these stories of impact that this whole process has had. Not just the final decision, but what leading up to this final decision has opened up for us.
Yeah, and I'm excited to read some of these. So, and this person responding to, has anything changed in your life? They say this, it has enabled me to feel more gracious towards people I disagree with, and also created me a better posture of listening to people who are hurting.
Another one says, it has allowed what I've felt in my heart for a long time to align with how I live and express my faith. It has enabled me to look deep into other areas of my faith and ask hard questions on things I've always accepted as truth. It has spurred many conversations with family members and friends who are also trying to make sense of their faith in light of new realizations and understandings.
This next one is from a family that returned to Lakeside 6 months ago after being longtime Lakesiders, but who left due to our former posture on same-sex relationships. And they said, hearing the change of heart has been so healing for our family. Always feeling like outsiders in the church, this decision made us feel fully accepted.
Another one, this decision has helped me reconcile a lot of my own tensions in my faith, while simultaneously allowing me to grow in new ways.
This person says, I've delved into stories of people who are LGBTQ+, and have had my heart opened and softened to their struggles.
I, as a member of the LGBTQ community, I felt very alienated by the church in the past and stopped going to church. I have a pretty strong relationship with God, but could not bring myself to trust the church. I've since found Lakeside, and I've been attending online during a very difficult time in my life. I'm so grateful for Lakeside and the decision to welcome and include members of my community with deep faith and wide embrace.
Another person says, your posture has helped me revive hope that a church leadership and church body can let go of power and certainty and move towards people and love and humility.
Someone who's been here 12 years, I've seen friends and families come back to church after a decision was made.
Explaining to our young adults that the church we're now attending accepts them fully, that they're not bound by law, but under the new covenant of Christ's love, has renewed their desire to pursue Jesus. They're even telling their friends and considering attending once again. And these parents say they're overjoyed.
It's allowed me to challenge my own beliefs around the issue and find peace in being able to be an ally of the LGBTQ community with a more solid biblical backing behind my decision.
This next family shared of a family member that walked away from their faith due to how the church treated the LGBTQ community. Here's what they said. As we sought more answers and they rejected the idea that we had to choose between our faith and supporting our family member, we landed at Lakeside during COVID. And they all go on to share that they're now attending in person and glad to know that when their friends and family are ready, they can safely come and not be judged, but simply be loved.
I felt more peace in my heart, no longer feeling like I have to advocate for inclusivity in God's kingdom, but now can breathe and worship freely without feeling on the outside of church because of my convictions of who Jesus is and his love for all people.
Someone else says, people in the queer community have expressed to me that it feels like a safe space for them, that if there's anywhere they'd be willing to share their identity, pronouns, etc., it would be to the people of the Lakeside church community.
As I have many friends in the LGBTQ community, I feel like I can actually talk to these friends about my church activity and have discussions about faith.
Love this person. After 20 years of being here, they said, how have you changed? They say, I feel less sure of anything, which could be seen as bad, but really, this is their words, I feel like I'm not blindly accepting truth as it had been given to me in the past. I'm more likely to talk and share my faith and thoughts about my beliefs. Love that they're thinking critically through their faith.
Yeah. Someone else answering the question, so have you grown spiritually? Yes. I've been ruined for black and white answers, and I can no longer fight over debatable issues. It's made me wrestle with God and ask better questions as I seek to faithfully follow him.
This person who checked off the 70-plus category said, it's made me pause and re-examine some of my beliefs and attitudes. It has further given me freedom to follow the Holy Spirit's leading.
Wow. One of the things I've so appreciated about Lakeside, this person writes, has been the openness and permission to explore our individual relationships with Jesus and how we extend that to anyone and everyone made in his image. Far too often, church has felt like an exercise in memorizing the right facts. As a former pastor and as a father, it has been not only refreshing, but a blessing to be able to drive home from church and the conversation be about how we individually responded to what we heard, good or bad, positive or negative, because it's been about the family unpacking and exploring their faith. I can't tell you how many times in the past those conversations felt awkward for me because I had to undo so much legalism in order for my kids to feel safe and to simply understand Jesus and his love for them.
This other longtime Lakesider says, my brother was gay, passed away in the early 90s, and my cousin, who was also gay, needed to walk away from immediate and extended family to self-preserve at about the same time. They dealt with such unkindness and unfair judgment, and it broke my heart. They didn't deserve to be treated that way. I'm so relieved that Lakeside has come to the decision to include and love everyone regardless of who they love. They continue on to say, I was ready to be done with an organization that could judge, point fingers, ostracize, and say this was the right thing to do because it was all right there in the Bible. Praise God, I was reunited with my cousin last year, seeing her for the first time in more than 25 years. My children got to meet her and her partner, and we spent the day together, sharing stories and catching up. My heart was so full. God is so good.
I'm a same-sex attracted male who's been at Lakeside for many years. Initially, I was fearful and concerned of the new direction and posture, as church was my safe space. Being a follower of Jesus and knowing that many of my church community would judge or reject me has been a difficult space to live in. Seeking professional therapy and journeying with many safe people who know my story, I feel safe at church, not rejected. I belong here more than I ever have. I'm going deeper in my relationship with Jesus. Wow. And we have heard so many of these stories. Many of them, it's from people who say, this isn't my story to tell, but I want to share this with you. So we can't actually share those stories, but if you could just hear what we hear in coffee shops, in our studies, as we pray with people, countless stories of people who have now made Lakeside their home. And to be honest, I've just been amazed.
Yeah.
I've just been amazed at what I've heard.
Yeah. And before we close, we want to share a few other stories that we call these the surprising consequences or opportunities that we didn't expect. And you probably haven't heard these. But being kind of on the ground floor as staff, we get to see and hear them kind of on your behalf. So we thought we'd take just a few minutes and share them with you. First thing you may not know is, you look around the room and you kind of say, this is our Lakeside community. But what's happened in the last year since this decision is our online community is actually now bigger. Who's attending online through our different platforms is bigger than the actual in the room. And we get their emails all the time. And these are people who are like, I'm not allowed in my church anymore. I got in trouble for asking too many questions. And watching Lakeside has just been such an oasis. It's just so great, this deep faith, wide embrace. Over and over again, we hear their stories literally from all over the world and places we've never heard of. And so that's been neat that when you're supporting Lakeside, you're supporting people who feel like they're in the desert and needing oasis. And that's just, I love getting those emails. I know you do too.
We also discovered an organization that's Canadian, that runs coast to coast, because we were starting to feel alienated and somewhat kind of alone in this. And we thought there wasn't that many other churches, and yet we discovered this organization that's networking churches and pastors all across Canada. There's hundreds of pastors, all feeling alienated and alone themselves. So it's been really neat to connect with other churches who have been kicked out of their denominations, pastors who have lost their ordination, and now we sort of have this network that we can connect with. So that's been a neat bonus.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We've also got the chance to meet with other pastors and boards of churches who are also trying to understand, hey, we're going through this conversation, or, how'd you get your church to agree? I'm like, agree? Nobody agrees on anything. Like, you even pick the people on that side, they don't agree with each other, and those people don't agree. I'm like, agreement is not the goal, friends, because then what happens when they change their mind? I'm like, centered set, right? That's the thing that worked for us. And so it's been such a gift to be able to meet with these church boards and pastors and journey with them as they seek to make the same inclusive decision that we did. So that's been a surprising gift.
The other thing is, you might remember 2 years ago for our Christmas campaign, we supported Victim Services. That's a service that is a government organization. It comes alongside people who are going through, they're victims of violent crime or something super traumatic in their lives, and we raise a lot of money for them. What we didn't know is Liz, the director, has said that now she feels confident that she can refer some of those people who are looking for spiritual care to a place like Lakeside, knowing that no matter what they believe, where they come from, that they won't be judged, that they will have a place where they can belong and be included.
Yeah, we've heard that from numerous first responders as well, so that's been really neat. And then lastly, there's just this posture shift. I've been here for years, and I've just felt it. I felt it in you. You just drip with grace and curiosity. I just love this community so much, and I've felt this shift in this last year. I've felt this move towards deep faith, wide embrace. Like, gosh, even your emails are just so much more gracious and kind. There's just, even when you disagree, you're like, hey, you said this thing, that felt kind of, can you help me understand? Or maybe we grab a coffee, and I'm not sure I see it that I'm so grateful to be part of this community. And I've talked to others who've come and visited, and they're just like, your people just drip with grace. There's just this sense that it's okay to not be okay, to, have mess in your life. Like, it's just this shift that's happened, and I'm just incredibly honored and grateful to be part of this church. So, there's so much more we could say, but we do got to land this plane. So some closing thoughts. As we said in the beginning, today is not rah, 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 look at us, look at all we've done. We've got a long way to go. Today is about celebrating and marking a significant milestone, taking account, remembering our history, lamenting, grieving, and also being thankful for stories of life change. But the reality is, friends, it would be easy to just settle into this place and recreate or just fall back into or default into the bounded set system our decision was meant to break us out of. It would be easy for us to get tunnel visioned on our sense of inclusion and then to begin to look down our noses at anyone that we meet who disagrees with us. It would be easy for us to paint people with broad strokes who see things differently, or to exclude, alienate, categorize, or even name call or speak negatively about them. That is just a recreation of the bounded system. And so as we get ready to leave this morning, could I just bless you before we go? Because this 1 year marker, I don't want to just keep looking back at it and celebrating it. I want to look to the future. So if you could, if it doesn't trip your weird meter, can we stand? And I wrote a blessing I would just love to speak over our church. Oh. So friends, years from now, may we not only point to a decision our church made in 2023 as evidence that we love as Jesus loved. I hope that we would point to the evidence of an ever-deepening faith and an ever-widening embrace. Years from now, may the kinds of people who sit at our tables and share life with us surprise even our present selves. May the number of people we call friends who we disagree with grow, not shrink. May the number of people we share meals with who don't prefer our preferences grow and not shrink. May the number of people who disagree with our posture and beliefs, but who say they feel known and understood and loved by us, be ever growing and never shrinking. May we grow in our centered, set, Jesus-centered posture, inviting more and more people to move closer to Jesus and removing more and more boundaries that create walls between us and them. May we not create new boxes that our children have to break out of. May we walk in the reckless, unending love of Jesus and give it away. Thanks for joining us, friends. It's been such a gift to look back and celebrate with you. Our prayer teams are up at the front if you'd love to have prayer for any reason. And if you've signed up and pre-registered for our newcomers group, Brian is waiting for you in the chapel, and Robin and I will be there in a few minutes. But please grab your coffee and start grabbing some snacks, and we'll see you very soon. Have a great week, friends.